me. I tell them, you guys have the leeway to push these kids how you need to push them, because I'm not always going to be around. You're not always going to be around. If they hear different voices that are consistent with the same message, they're going to get in line to do what they need to do to be successful on their own.
What's up, everyone? You're tuning into the Diamond Strong podcast. It's where you come feeling good and you leave feeling great. The action starts now.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, man, bro. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that Nick kind of put us in touch, bro. It seems like you like doing podcasts.
Yes, I mean it's one of those things. I'm actually going on my fourth season of my podcast, so it's been one of those things where I was hesitant to do it at first because I wasn't never a guy that wanted to be out there and speak. I was always let my actions speak louder than words. I didn't feel like I needed to speak until I actually started doing it, and then
Uh-huh.
man, here we are 3 years later, and it's fun to do.
Yeah, man. Bro, I think it's like needed too, man. Like it sucks because I always used to feel the same way. I grew up in I mean, and I'm not saying you're old by no means, but a little older than me, just a little bit. But like you obviously grew up almost like in still kind of in that social media world too, in a sense, in the beginning of it, and so did I. And I always felt like, yo, I want to stay away from it. I want to stay away
Yeah,
from it. Like I don't want to do it. I'm a player. Like I'm just playing. Like that's it. Let me stay away. I didn't want to be like everybody else. But then I'm like, man, it's good. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, man. Like we could help plenty of people doing this, man. If you could change one life, bro, that's the way I like to say it. If you change one life by one of these things, it was successful.
that's what I'm saying. I think the era that you're talking about, it's when nobody really knew what social media was. Like everybody thought it was a distraction, so they always talked down against it. Like Facebook, there was I think it was Periscope. That was something that was popular. It was like the live chat thing that you could do with the fans. And then
Yeah.
Instagram came out of nowhere, and then people thought it was a real distraction. So they started saying, "Hey, watch what you post because now you got people that are closer to you and followers that are watching your every move." So I think that's why. And I was the same way. I was just like, "Yeah, I don't need it." I wouldn't. I would barely post during the season while I was playing. I would post once or twice in the off season because I was always thinking to myself, if I post and it's not something that, well, I'm not saying anything's inappropriate, but if I were to post something that the team might not like or a fan might not like, so I'm going to just stay off of it in general. But when you really look at it, you see guys' brands have just exploded from social media. And I think now you are correct. Like guys need to start being able to have a voice basically outside
Yeah.
the helmet, outside the baseball helmet, the basketball court.
Yep.
I just think that it helps somebody that might be needing help, needing motivation. And if you're that person that they look up to and follow, because everybody has a fan. Everybody has that one fan that is just always with them from every step of the way. And
Oh yeah.
as you continue to climb up, you kind of, I won't say you forget about them, but there's so many other people that come into play when you continue to elevate that those same fans are the most loyal ones to you that just remember your entire career, your ups and your downs. And, those are the people that you are talking about that when you do get on a podcast and they hear you speak, it's like, I was living this with him the entire way. And I think that's what really resonates with people that are doing podcasts. So if we can encourage more people to just continue to do it, you never know, like you said, who is going to be able to help somebody else and motivate them to be successful.
Yeah, man. It's gonna change lives, man. I know it, and it has already, right? Like, but isn't it crazy? Because I think I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I think back in the day, it was so much more, hey, like nobody knew about the business side of sports so much, right? They hid it from everybody. So it was like, if you pay for the Dolphins, you pay for the Eagles, it's the Eagles, it's the Eagle, but like now, I don't think people in general know, like the fans know how much of a business it is. Like people aren't as mad at players when they make a switch or they do something for themselves because they're like, oh, it's a business. We understand how cutthroat it is. So like, do you, bro? Like get that brand up. Like get your money when you
Exactly.
can, kind of thing.
Exactly. I think it just comes down to the instant information that's available at your fingertips now. Obviously, when news gets out, everybody knows about it in the first 5 seconds, and you didn't have that before. And when a guy would make a move, you would think to yourself, "Well, why is he making this move?" And it wouldn't come
Yeah.
out until I guess a few months later where you finally know it. But by that time, it's like, oh, okay, I can see why he did what he did, and now I understand. I still don't like it, but I understand. But now it's we know pretty much like the Aaron Rodgers trade. Like you knew that was coming for many months.
Yeah,
Like
bro. Of
that's
course.
just one of the examples that you just know that. All right, what day is this going to happen? Because we know it's going to
Yeah.
happen because obviously Aaron's he's it didn't go well in Green Bay, so now he
Yeah.
wants to turn the table. You knew that since January, and it
Yep.
just happened yesterday or 2 days ago. But it's just that type of stuff where you followed Aaron his career, you followed him through the media and his frustration with so much that you just understand now I know why he's doing it, as opposed to when Brett Favre was doing it and he left, everybody was pissed off and mad,
Hated
but
him.
they didn't
Yeah.
understand the
What? Why are you gonna
backstory with
leave?
you're right. Times have changed with the media. Social media has really
Yeah.
helped elevate news and accelerate it and get it to the masses and get people to understand the business side of sports, like you said, and just knowing that just because you know you have a loyal player that you grew up and loved, he's going through the business side of it. So when he's making a decision, he's not basing off the fans. He's basing off his family, and you have to
Yep.
respect because you have to now you should know and understand how the sports world goes as far as a business.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Hey, you know what I really do love? I wanted to bring up was what do you like? We didn't hear Aaron Rodgers talk for a while, and now with Pat McAfee, he lets it rip.
Oh, he lets it go.
And
It's
Aaron
good to
Rodgers
see.
every week goes on there and says, "Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how
It's
cool is
really.
that? Could you imagine if like you always had that? Like, if you could put out your own media?
I wish. I wish.
What?
And
Me too, bro.
it would just if we could have done that back then, there probably could have been many things that would have changed as far as like CBA agreements, pay. I guarantee you, if we had the technology we had 10 years ago and you gave that to the players, I'm saying it from a football perspective, we probably have guaranteed contracts. We'd be in the same position as the NBA because the NBA has gotten that because they got the leeway to brand themselves. Obviously,
Yep.
Michael Jordan, those guys, Magic Johnson, way before they were the guys that set the precedence for these guys now, like LeBron, John Morant, Devin Booker, all of them that are free to have their own brand within the basketball court. And I think you're seeing that. And the new CBA got signed 2 years ago, so you got to give it some time. But
Yeah.
I think in the next CBA that comes around, they're going to have guaranteed contracts. They're going to have things in play where the players are freely to express themselves to build their brand within the team, and the team has to allow it because it's one of those where your brand helps the team grow, and then
Yep.
in vice versa, you're making the money that's guaranteed. If we cut you, we still got to pay you, so we might as well let you utilize what you have and the platform that
Yeah.
you have on the team and grow your status, grow your fan base because, as you know, you never play this game forever, and once you're done, what are the things that you put into play to help you elevate to go into the next chapter of your life and transition and be able to go into business, go into coaching, real estate, teaching, whatever it is you desire. And that should be based off of how you've built your brand over the years when you have played.
No, I mean, you hit it on the head, man. You hit it on the head. I think about it all the time, and I remember being in meetings in pro ball and in college, and they'd hand you a booklet of things that you couldn't do, you couldn't say, don't say this, don't talk to this person. And
Yep.
it's like, and now it's funny. I went back to school not too long ago, and now they're talking about money management because these kids are getting paid, man. It's
Yeah. Yep.
big money.
Exactly. I was
Like,
just at
and
Maryland. It's my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just at Maryland, my old school, 2 weeks ago, and just looking around campus and just remembering where I had to stay on campus as opposed to where these guys are staying now. I was staying in a little dorm, and these guys are staying in high rises right next to the facility. They only got to walk like 2 minutes to the building when I was walking 35, 40 minutes and hoping I had to time it up right just to get to special teams meetings and practice, get to drive on campus, I get cars, like all these things that, I wish I had had back then. But it's
What?
great that we had to, and if think about it, we had to endure that part of trying to fight for those rights. If you remember, like
Mhm.
NCAA
Yep.
football game, where guys were complaining about their likeness and they weren't getting paid off it, but the games were and the schools were. And I think that's what's kind of snowballed this whole thing, obviously with Title IX as well. And that's what has brought it to where it is today, where you're seeing guys getting paid and they're reaping the fruits of our labor, but we had to fight for that. And we fought
Oh
for
yeah.
many years until, a couple years ago when they actually granted this stuff. So honestly, it's good to see. And like I said, when I was back in Maryland, like you were saying too, they're talking about money management. They're talking about, being well with your finances, making sure you're paying your rent, like those things that you weren't thinking about when you were 19, 20 years
I
old.
didn't have a dollar, bro. What the
Yeah,
heck was I
exactly.
gonna pay?
I had no money at all, so I was trying to figure it out, whether it's to sell the I was making
Sneakers.
chicken bacon ranch sandwiches from Domino's, and I copied the recipe, and I was selling it out my dorm room, just trying to make some money. I'm a kid on a full ride scholarship, so
Oh man.
it was fun times back then, but they were great times.
Yeah. No, I tell everybody like, "Hey, I'm not mad about it. Like, I love that they're getting paid. I'm kinda jealous. I just not maybe I won't be in school for a year right now, like, you know what I'm saying? It would've
Exactly.
been
Get you
nice,
one
bro.
more extra year. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Why
let me
not?
get one extra
Cash
year, bro. That'd be cool to make some money
Heck
because I
yeah.
remember even having, like, a flat tire at night and be like, "Mom, send me
Yes.
like, I need 20 bucks. Put 20 bucks in
Yeah.
the in my bank
MoneyGram. Apple Pay. It was MoneyGram, so you had to go somewhere and pick that thing up. I remember those days, man. I'm telling you, I remember them.
Oh. Yeah, man. Time flies though, man. I'm glad they're at the point where they don't have to worry about those things anymore. And it sucked. It from an outsider, it sucks to see how much, especially in football, man. Baseball not as much, but football, man, you guys make so much money for a school, man. So much money. And it's like these kids are just struggling to eat. Come on, man. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Man, no, it
Yo, my bad, it
no,
broke
it
up.
doesn't. That's a crazy thing. It's weird how that's to the dynamic. A friend of mine broke it down. I
Mhm.
don't know if you're still on or not.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Hello? There you go. Hello, hello. Yo. Hello, hello, hello. Yo.
Yeah, I don't know what
Oh,
happened. Just
there he goes. My bad. But yeah, you were saying a
oh,
friend of yours?
yeah, a friend of mine was telling me about like the whole NIL stuff and how that is all working and how it is a bunch of different levels to it, but just bottom line, they were making a lot of money off the kids. And once this kind of whole NIL stuff kind of blew open, you're seeing the chaos that is created today. And I think the NCAA wanted some of that to happen because they've been trying so long to suppress it. And I think they didn't want to deal with the madness of trying to understand, okay, if a kid goes to Ohio State and then a kid is going to Iowa or Georgia Southern or even FIU at the time,
Mhm.
how can you differentiate the pay? How does a guy from Ohio State, does he get paid more than a guy at FIU, or does he get the same as the guy from Ohio State? And that was
Mhm.
the biggest thing that people were trying to understand back then was, do we make it equal pay or do we make it depending on school? And they were always blaming the NCAA. So once the NCAA kind of backed away from it, the other ones that it's a whole backstory to it that he explained to me. We talked for about 2.5 hours. He's my old teammate back in Philly. His name's Najee Good, and
Uh-huh.
we actually have a podcast together for this season, Conversations with Carroll, and he talks about it and like it. You would think like it's a perfect like checkmate play that the NCAA did, but I'll let him explain it because there's no way I'd be able to explain it as
Wait,
well.
hold on, because I know he's not on here right now, but let me ask you a question. Wait, do you think this was like they did it on purpose so they can see, "Oh, you guys wanted this?
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead."
Yeah. When he described it and he broke it down, I couldn't do anything but applaud the NCAA because of the way they did it. And I'm telling you, they're very whoever's running it, I don't know who they are, but they're very smart in what they did and how they did it to where you're seeing the chaos. Because think about this: the schools, if the NIL was really open the way it was,
Mhm.
how come schools are struggling to pay kids? Like, how come they're still struggling to get money to get a recruit to come in? Why isn't it they are able to pay a guy, I don't know, let's say 20 million for 5 years of being there in college? And they're not able to do that. And there's a certain reason why they're not able to, and it's all because of the NCAA. So they made sure they prepared themselves and made sure things were airtight before they decided to stop the fight to let kids get these deals. I'm telling you, it's an interesting story, man. Really
Dang, I
interesting.
wanna hear it because I guess from my assumptions, right, it was the NFL or look at me, the NFL, the NCAA doesn't allow actual schools to pay the kids,
Hmm.
but obviously, you can have a donor that is very close to the school
Yep,
pay the kid.
exactly.
So, in a sense, obviously, the school can't say, "Hey, here's 5 for 20," but or
Mhm.
20 for 5, but a donor can,
A
right?
donor can, but is a donor really going to put up 20 mil for a kid that's 18? Or are you going to put up 20 mil for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing. And if you think about it, if every school, if it was really open that way,
Mhm.
you would see schools offering guys, the school itself would give a kid 20 mil easy if that was the case for the school.
Yeah.
But the NCAA still owns the rights to most of these schools. That's why they can't do those things.
Oh, I see where you're going now.
So like I said, there's a whole business model behind it where they kind of they stuck it to the schools at the end and just said peace and like we'll let y'all deal with it. So that's why you're seeing all these schools going into these other conferences. Why is UCLA and USC going into was it the Big Ten? Like they have
Something
no
like that.
business being there, and they're going there. The Texas and Texas A&M are going to, or Texas and I forgot who it is, or is going to the SEC.
Yep.
They're trying to make two big conferences so they can start regulating who gets paid what inside the conferences. And that's how they're really trying to regain that control. It's not because of TV right money. It's not because of bowl game money. It's more
Mhm.
of let's try and regulate our own kind of inside of our conference. And since we can't do it with the schools, let's build these two big conferences to where we can regulate the pay because now the NCAA owns the majority of the school rights still.
Oh, shoot. I
Yeah,
see where it's going now.
deep, man. It's deep because I didn't understand it at the time because I was wondering like why did Maryland? Because Maryland, we were in the ACC. We've been in the
Uh-huh.
ACC for a very long time, and we left from the ACC to the Big Ten. And I thought it was all dealing with TV and money, but come to find out, they're not. Maryland's not even getting that much money from the TV rights of the Big Ten anyway. So why are they in the Big Ten? And then why is all these other teams they keep shifting and moving and trying to configure
Mhm.
themselves within certain conferences? Why are they having playoff systems now? And it just when you really understand the backstory of all of the NCAA and how they did it, then you can start understanding why these teams are doing these schools. I don't want to say teams.
Yeah.
These schools are doing what they're doing to basically form these mega conferences and then have these sub conferences that are associated with them in a sense. Like it all happened. Probably the next 5 years it'll really be complete. I think they're trying to strategize this as best they can because, like I said, the NCAA still has. Don't let them fool you. They still have rights over everything.
Yeah, I guess I was only looking at it at face value, right? Like, only at, "Hey,
Same
the
here.
kids get the money. That's it."
Same here. I was, and it's funny. I had a teacher in college,
Mhm.
and his name was John England, and he gave us a book, $40 Million Slave. I don't know if you've heard of it
No,
before.
but Imma write it down because it might be
Yeah,
good. I wanna listen to that.
really
I wanna
talks about that, what you were talking about, how the schools were using players to basically get money from the school, and the players weren't getting any benefits from it. And they leave college, and these schools are still making money, and these kids they gotta try and get a job at Enterprise or something like that. Something low where if they were the starting quarterback of their team for 4 years, obviously he's probably made that school over 100 million, especially if he was balling.
Yep.
And say he gets hurt, right? Or he doesn't play well. And then, he doesn't get drafted, whatever happens, it doesn't pan out for him. Well, what does he do next? Well, the school's made so much money, they're not going to give it back to him off of jerseys, off of ticket sales, posters everywhere. They're not giving it to him. They're putting it right back in their pocket. And this kid's got to fend for himself. And while they still got posters and banners of look at so and so and back 15 years ago, well, shoot, he hasn't got any of that money. So why even replaying that stuff? It's just things
Yep.
like that when you think about it, you only think about it, like you said, face value from the player's perspective, where he's not getting paid from it. And that's kind of how it dives into it. But then as I was going through it, my career in football, I started seeing the other side, the business side, and how they were doing things. And really looking back now, with just our school, Jacksonville Athletic Academy, I'm really seeing it because I'm dealing with these kids, these NIL guys, these guys that think they deserve NIL deals, and you turn on the film and they're not even worth it. Like I wouldn't even give them a dollar. It's just how it is because that whole dynamic of, well, now that schools are allowing kids to get paid, every kid thinks they're the guy that needs to get paid when
Yep.
it's not even true. I was the best, one of the best in my high school. Then when I went to Maryland, I was in the middle of the pack somewhere. I had to figure it out to
Mhm.
become the best again. And that's what these kids are not understanding. They're just seeing, well, I'm the best on my team. If I go somewhere else, well, you got to pay me because I'm the best on my team. Well, you haven't shown you're the best on this team here.
Nope.
And that's the only way we can really pay you. But the the coaches, and when I talked to Coach Locks, he's the head coach at Maryland, he was even saying himself, like it's hard for him to recruit because kids are just wanting money. Like they're just chasing dollars and they're not chasing the opportunity. And he's struggling with that himself. And Maryland just built a $250 million facility, indoor spas. Like they got state of the art stuff. They make our old facility look crazy, run down. And the fact that you can barely get the top recruits that live in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, and you can't even get those kids. They're leaving the state. Just let you know that these kids are just chasing the dollars. Because if I knew a team wanted me that was a Power Five school team, and they were right down the street, I wouldn't be trying to leave. Like I would stay
Oh,
right there, money or
yep.
not. You get that opportunity to hopefully make that money back 3 4 years. If you do stay and you do ball out and you get drafted, then shoot, what's going to chase $100,000 when you're going to spend it as a young kid, not knowing how to manage it? You're going to spend it in a year, maybe a
Quick.
year. Then what after that? You're going to just go transfer to another school and try and get some more money, and you lose the value of actually being a football player. And that's where this whole mess, which, like I said, the NCAA knew what they were doing, is what is created.
Man, I wanted to get into coaching obviously because I see what you're doing and I commend you for that. But like what are some of the like how are you trying to combat that? Like are you trying to do anything to like hum is it humble the kid? Is it humble the kids? Like is that the word? Because I don't like saying that because I always want kids to have confidence. Like I think that's huge. But I don't know, is it being realistic? But I don't want to be realistic either, I don't.
Well, just open their eyes to the business. Like that's what
Okay.
it is. It's showing them at a younger age, hey guys, it's not all glitz and glamour like you think. You're not. And I hate to be rude sometimes, but I am. I'm very frank with these kids. You're not the 5-star kid. That's why you're here, Jay. Like we're here to help you get to where these 5-star kids are going, but you got to put in that work. Like you really, and I think the greatest thing about our program is we have guys that have coaches on our staff that have gone the JUCO route. So they understand back then how hard and difficult and virtually almost impossible it was back in those days. I'm talking about before 2010, like early 2000s, where
Mhm.
if you were a kid that went to JUCO and you didn't ball out in JUCO, well, you're staying in JUCO. There's no transfer for you. Those 2 years, and you don't have an opportunity. Well, you're pretty much done, unless you go and walk on somewhere. But these kids nowadays, it's the money, and they see a freshman in high school has a $9 million contract, and they're in college. Well, they're a senior in high school. They're like, well, this freshman is making this. Well, I need to be making it too. When they come to me, I tell them straight up, the only thing I'm promising you is an opportunity. And if you can't take that opportunity, then you can just kick rocks because I'll find a guy. Like I know me, and I know how great of coaches I've had that have gotten guys that weren't as talented and made them great, and I saw how they did it, and I'm just replicating what they have taught them and taught myself because I didn't play corner, and I don't know how much you know about me, but
Yeah, yeah. I
when I
I
got to
knew that.
when I got to Maryland, I was a receiver,
Uh-huh.
and my sophomore year, I became a defensive back, and I played a little bit my sophomore year. I played a lot my junior. I had a great junior season, and then my senior year, I played 2 games and I broke my leg. And then basically, I didn't get a lot of experience playing corner. So when I got drafted to Miami, Todd Bowles was my coach, and Mike Nolan was my defensive coordinator. I had Bill Sheridan, who was another coordinator when he was with the Giants when they won a Super Bowl. So I had guys, and I had Bill Parcells, I had freaking Tony Sperano. So I had great coaches that were always around me, and I saw what it looked like, and I saw how they were coaching guys that needed that experience, and I was one of those guys. So all I did was just take what they taught me, and I'm teaching them. And when they come to the program and they start understanding what I'm trying to show them, it's not just football X's and O's. It's more about how to understand to deal with life, how to play the chess game in life, so that when you do go to another school, you're ready to play. Because most of these, it's once again, it's a business. These coaches want to see how mature you are on and off the field. And they want guys that want to play right away. When they're signing these 5-star kids, they're not redshirting them. They're trying to have them play right away. And if you don't play right away, well, guess what? There's another 5-star kid next year that's coming in that they're looking to take your spot. So
Yep.
you got to get with the program or you can just transfer. Like that's just what it is now. And I'm trying to teach them that I want you to be game ready all the time. I want you to learn how to turn that switch on and off. I want you to learn how to basically, I don't want to say monster, but I want you to go to that other side, that dark side where you're able to compete all the time in everything. It's who can get the best grades, who can have the best GPA, who can be the best in study hall, who can be the best in practice, who can be the best in games, who can be the best in the weight room. Like those are the things I'm trying to teach them that they haven't necessarily gotten taught in high school because it's been so muddled up with just people that don't know how to coach, and then people are coaching for accolades, and then you have this NIL stuff in the middle where these kids are chasing just the glory and they're not getting coached the right way. And then they wonder why. Well, why didn't I get this opportunity? Well, it's because of my coach. It's a vicious cycle that's going on that we're really trying to break here at JA to make sure that when these kids do leave from here, from us, that when they do go somewhere else, it's noticeable. Like when I mean noticeable, from the first day they come in, you can tell in the weight room, all right, this guy, I got some competition. Like first day, wherever it is, doesn't matter. They know they got competition. And then they know that guy is trained to bring it every single day because we've shown him how to do it. Like there's one way where you can go all the way until you just burn out. And there's another way where you understand this is my competition. I understand my competition, but my competition has to compete with me, not the other way around. And that's how we build them. And that's how we're we're creating the right men, basically, is what I'm saying. We want to make sure that they have all the tools that they need and they're prepared to take on whatever endeavor they need to when they leave from JA.
Man, you hit it on the head, and let me see if I could really simplify it into one word. And
I
is
give
it
you a lot.
winning? Is it winning? Trying to win?
Yeah.
Because I feel like maybe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, like so many people are so focused on things that in reality don't matter in life, man.
Yeah.
Like, money
It's,
comes and goes, as you know. It's hard to tell a kid that doesn't have any money that money comes and goes, right? It's
yeah.
hard to tell a kid to stop worrying about the person next to you, to stop worrying about this, stop worrying about that, and just focus on winning every second of the day. Is that
Yeah.
kinda like the mentality?
That is the mentality. Like, and it's funny because you're an athlete too, so you understand. And people will probably say winning isn't everything. Yes, it is. It is everything. It's secure to
What?
everything.
It is
But
everything.
when I say winning, it is winning. It's winning at what you just talked about, the little things. Like how can you win consistently with what you're doing in your control? If you know that workouts are at 8 o'clock in the morning, well, guess what? I'm going to wake up at 7 and I'm going to make sure I get there by 7:30, 7:45 to get myself prepared. That's a win. I'm going to make sure that I push myself to where I fail in the weight room so that I know the next day when I come back in, I know I've given it my all. I know where my benchmark is. I'm going to exceed that. That's another win right there. Making sure you come to class, making sure you're engaged in the discussion That's another win. Like that's what I'm talking about with wins. You're putting the effort and energy into your craft, the stuff that you can do well, the things that you can control. And that's what we're getting these kids to understand is I'm in control of what I need to do for what is inside of my realm. You can only control your preparation. And then when you go out on the field, you can control your play and your effort. After that, you can't control the results. You can't control anything else. You can only control yourself. And when you look at it at the end of the day, win or loss, what were the things that you did well? What are the things you need to improve on? And the things that you need to improve on will help you win next time. And if you can continue to do that, you will always continue to win. That's just how it is. And we're not doing that enough in society anymore. It's always about participation awards. I hate that.
Oh,
Even my son, I have a son, he's 9 years old, and he knows they don't even give those out. Like the teams he's on, they don't give those. Like his coach, if it's a loss, he tells them, hey, you guys didn't play well. If it's a win, you guys play well, but we need to do this better next time. So he understands that mindset of I don't just get a trophy for participating. Like I have to show up and I have to give the results. And nowadays kids just want things just to want them because they feel like they deserve them without actually sacrificing. Like you have to sacrifice something first initially to reap the rewards later. And then when you understand how to reap those rewards, you just invest back into yourself to continue to reap those rewards. And then once you continue to do that, it becomes a habit. It's habitually, you don't even think about it anymore. You're just so ingrained to doing it that it's natural for you. But everybody else, they can't understand how you're doing it. And it just takes time. It takes discipline.
yeah.
It really takes consistency. And the more we just do that with these kids, and I put a big emphasis on my coaches to do that. It's not just me. I tell
Mhm.
them, you guys have the leeway to push these kids how you need to push them because I'm not always going to be around. You're not always going to be around. If they hear different voices that are consistent with the same message, they're going to get in line to do what they need to do to be successful on their own.
Gee, I have goosebumps, bro. Man, because it scares me. It scares me that there's kids that don't have that, like that don't have that mentor, that don't have that, and I see it a lot, man. I see it a lot, and I'm sure you do too when kids come through your door that they just have it all wrong, man. Like how much you talked obviously about your coaches and stuff, but like how much did your parents play a role in that as well? Because that word discipline, I'm I did research obviously, and I've heard a couple of the podcasts already and stuff like that. So obviously that word discipline was taught to you maybe before you could even walk, right? I'm
Oh,
sure.
oh yeah, yeah. Both my parents are in the military, so and people, when I say military, people think just on time, make your bed. Like I barely made my bed. My parents tell me to make my bed. I'm like, look, I don't feel like making my bed. I want to stay in bed. If they want me to wake up early, I don't want to wake up. But my parents were cool, and that was the thing. My parents were laid back, but they understood you're going to respect your elders. You're going to work for everything you want, and on top of that, you have to make sure that every day you have the mentality that you can do. And everything that my mom did, she was an aviation mechanic back in the 70s. That was unheard of. Being a black woman as an aviation mechanic in the Navy, she dealt with everything, but she rose through the ranks. She retired as a lieutenant commander after 20 years, and then she just kept going higher, man. She got into politics, and shoot, she ended up basically running the state of Florida. She was lieutenant commander excuse me, lieutenant governor, before I messed it up, lieutenant governor of the state of Florida with Rick Scott. And basically she was with Rick Scott, but she was running the show. Like she was totally
Wow.
running the show. And for me, seeing that from her, and I don't want to get by my dad. I'll go to my dad also in a second. But for me, just understanding that you can continually climb higher and find new heights, that helped me do the same thing and take a risk on myself. Knowing that she did it as a woman, I was thinking I could do anything. Like I really thought I could do anything. And then with my pops, it was the same thing. My pops, he was in the Air Force. He was living in Miami. He was living in Liberty City. He wanted to get out the hood. He's tired of it. He wanted to make a way. He wanted to be the guy that, cut that generational curse of just chilling on the corner and drinking and smoking and not doing anything with your life. So he enlisted in the Air Force, ship him off to Hawaii, and next thing you know, he's out there and he's like, look, I'm gonna make it, however I need to. He didn't have any money, didn't know any guidance, but I mean, he was in the military for I think 25 years. And he was a
Wow.
senior master sergeant, so he was running things too. He's modest about it. I still think my dad is a spy in a sense. He won't tell us a whole
He's
lot,
still
but
doing something.
yeah, he had to be because he doesn't tell us a lot of his job. But the same thing, my dad was. I saw him every morning. He's waking up at. I would hear the alarm go off 4:45 in the morning for
Ooh,
almost 18 years that I was in the house. I would hear it every single morning. He wouldn't complain. He wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't be in a bad attitude. He would get up, make his coffee, turn on the TV, watch some TV, and he would drive an hour to work to get work on the base and drive an hour back home, coming back home at 5:30. And he did that for, shoot, man, I think 20, 23, 24 years of just consistent being disciplined. No, he didn't like every single day. I know he hated driving, but he knew he had to do it. He had a reason, he had a why. So for me to see those two examples at the top and understanding this is what it takes to be successful, it made it easier for me to take on a lot of challenges and obstacles because of what I've seen them do over the years repeatedly and seemingly almost do it with ease because they had just trained themselves even before I was born to take on those tasks because they believed in themselves so much that they knew that all we have to do is just develop our skill set, whatever that looks like, into our craft to make us successful. And shoot, I feel like that's what we're all doing in our family now. My sister's doing great things. My sister, she's working 2 insurance jobs. She's killing it right now. My brother, he's the one that created JA basically, and he was playing semi-pro as a basketball player too. And me, I played football on accident. Yeah, it's just how it happened.
What do you mean on accident, bro? What do you mean on accident?
I was a soccer player. I played soccer first,
So
and
that I wanted to ask you about that. I thought maybe it was you played both, like, and you just loved both. But was that your first love? Was soccer your first love?
soccer was. And it's a funny thing. My mom would not let me play football, and she kept telling me every year. I wanted to play when I was 5. She told me that she missed football signups. So I was like, all right, she missed it. So I'll just play soccer. And I started being great at soccer. So the next year comes around, I was like, Mom, I'll play football. She's like, I missed it again. I'm sorry. So I'm playing soccer again. Start getting a little bit better. And then finally, I would play flag football at recess, and I just kind of forgot about it. But I still wanted to play. I just knew she just kept forgetting it. And my dad was like, well, you got to ask your mom. I go and ask my mom. She said, yeah, I'll register you. Forget again. So as the years went on, I just got better at soccer, and we started playing better competition. And obviously, I started getting seen by more and more people. And I got a couple of academy offers to go overseas. And my mom, she didn't want me going overseas to do because I got that good at soccer. And she was like, yeah, no, you're not leaving at all. You can start playing football. So when I got
Sign
into
up.
high school,
I didn't miss it this year. I didn't miss it
yeah.
this year.
So she convinced me, or she didn't convince me. My high school coach, when I did get into high school, convinced my mom to let me play football only because football would pay for my education. And when she understood the two and how this works, she allowed me to do that. And when I did, I started getting really good at football because I started understanding if I can score touchdowns, then I'll get a scholarship. So let me find the position where you score the most touchdowns. Receiver. All right, cool. Let me play receiver. I got a good quarterback. Man, just throw it deep. I'll go and catch it. Don't worry about it. And sure enough, that's what I ended up doing. I think my sophomore year, I played free safety. It was decent without still learning the game. And then I switched over to receiver because I said this is the way where I need to get a scholarship and play receiver. Balled out my junior year. I had 1,000 receiving yards, I think 11 touchdowns. Like, it's just ridiculous at the time
Crazy.
in Jacksonville at least. And had my offers. Like, I lost count of how many offers I got. I got a lot. I think it was like 40 offers I had. And then my senior year, I broke my leg again. And
Dang, bro.
I know, crazy. But luckily enough, the talent that they saw was there, and Maryland still took a chance on me. I still had a lot of schools that wanted me, but I narrowed it down to 3 schools. It was Ole Miss, Colorado, and it was Maryland. And I picked Maryland because Ralph Friedgen really told my mom I care about him graduating more than I do about him on the football field, and that's really what made her feel at ease to have me go there, and that's what I ended up doing.
Wow, man. So school was obviously, were you good at school growing up? Like, was that a thing that you were good at?
I I wasn't because I didn't feel like a teacher could teach me what I wanted to know, and meaning that I knew the outside world just like based off my parents. I just knew
Yeah.
that it was different than the school, so I never wanted to pay attention. Like my attention span was just I need to go to college so I can play football because I know if I go to college and play football, there's probably a chance I can go to the NFL. Like I knew that. So whatever you guys are trying to teach me, unless it's economics, I'm cool with it. If it's some type of history, I'm cool with it. Science, all that other stuff, I just need to know how to write legibly, just good enough. I don't need all this craziness, this geometry. Just let me learn outside of the school and I'll apply it in school and on the football field and I'll be good. So I was not the best. Like the more I applied myself, and it wasn't until I was getting ready to graduate where I made the dean's list at Maryland. And that's only because I
Ooh.
applied myself for that 1 year. I was like, you know what? I'm graduating. I'm going out with a bang. And I did that. And so, yeah, I could have done it earlier on, but I was so focused on just sports. Like that's what I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I knew if I just did enough to stay eligible, I would be okay. So that's just how I felt about school. And now you're seeing it. You're seeing the great debate is school and going to college even worth it for people now that want to be in school for 8 years, 9 years to get a degree and they come out in $500,000 in debt. So I'm glad I didn't get to do that at all. I wasn't one of those people.
No, listen, man. I wasn't any good at school. Uh, but I also had I had parents that weren't in the military, but were like very, very disciplined in the
Yeah,
way that they taught me and stuff like that. So I wasn't allowed to get bad grades. So I
I wasn't
figured out a way
either.
to get good grades, bro. Like there was no question about that. But man, it was just I I think again, like the biggest thing about school, it just teaches you discipline. Even right, I like to say this, like even when it comes to sports, right? Like I love sports too. I always wanted to make it to the major leagues. Like that was the goal. I not even the goal. I knew it was gonna happen. Like you, like I had the ability to have parents that told me it was possible. Like there was no choice. Like you can do it, right? But school was just a part of one of the parts of the puzzle that you had to do. Like there was
Exactly.
no choice. So if you don't give yourself a choice, you can be successful at that too, right? Like you still passed school, you still got a college degree. Maybe you only gave it all you had 1 year, but you still got a degree on the wall, man. Like, and it's pretty cool. It's a
Yeah,
goal. It's something that you got. You earned it. So I don't think it's a terrible thing. In a sense, I don't remember learning too much either, bro. Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
in
No.
reality, man, like I'm sorry, but I did have to go to class. I did have to
Mhm.
get the work done. However, I got it done. I got it done.
Yeah,
Right. Like you still have to do those things. And I think that teaches you something, man.
it does. It teaches you persistence because you know
Yes.
you got to go to class to get a good grade. You got to study to get a good grade. So you are right. I did do that. So it's not. I agree with you. School's not bad at all, and it does teach you things. And eventually, most people don't even use their degrees anyway. You know, they just get it. Really, just get it for your parents' sake. To say, hey, look,
Yeah.
my son, my daughter, they graduated from college. They that's bragging rights for them. It has
That's
nothing to
it.
do with you. It's all about the parents at the end of the day, and that's. I mean, you just know that it gives you a leg up in society as far as when they ask, "Did you graduate from college?" You can say yes. Like you can say that pridefully, or even in the conversation at an event, you can say, "I went to University of such and such," and they say, "Oh wow, I went to there as well," or "I had a
Mhm.
family member that went there." You just bring that up in conversation as opposed to, "Well, I didn't finish getting my degree." Kind of people look at you side-eyed a little bit. So a degree still
Yeah.
holds weight in the sense of being able to say that you got one.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's really that simple. But tell me about obviously growing up in Jacksonville, man, being a Florida kid. I know you weren't a city boy per
No,
se, but you still are Florida, right? So like I mean, we have a little chip on our shoulder down here, bro, I think. But how was it when you got to Maryland, man? Like obviously like DC, all that area, man. Like it's a little bit, was it a culture shock at all for you like when you got to school?
yeah, it was because I was a country kid. So I
Yeah.
live hometown is Green Cove Springs, and we're about 25, 30, actually 30 minutes outside of downtown Jacksonville. And a lot of people kid, they're like, "Yeah, you're not from Jacksonville." And we know we're not from Jacksonville. It's
Yeah.
just people know Jacksonville more than they know Green Cove Springs. So it's that's why we say it. But I knew that when I left the state of Florida, I'm going to represent Florida wherever I go, and that's exactly what I did. And it was funny because people weren't used to guys leaving the state of Florida back then. Like it was
Mhm.
guys were shocked that I left to go to Maryland. I had University of Florida, I had FIU, I had UCF, USF. I could have had Florida State. I chose not to because I wanted to go to Miami. That was my school.
Hey.
But when I announced and told people I'm going to Maryland, everybody was shocked. Like, they were surprised that I was. And when I got up there, guys that were from New Jersey, were from DC, were from Maryland, were shocked to see Florida kids in the locker room. There's only about 4 or 5 of us that were there at the time. So we had to represent that we were everything that everybody said we were. We were fast, we were athletic. Football was natural for us. And pretty much that was true. We were very fast, we were strong, we were athletic. We did things most guys could not do. And it's just because, and if you think about it, we played sports year round. Whatever you might have played, whether it's you play football in the summer, or the fall, then you play basketball or soccer in the winter, you run track or play baseball in the spring, and then you got winter, not winter, you got summer workouts. Like, you're constantly every single season doing a different sport. And when you come to Maryland, it's all that athletic ability is bundled into one. You're balling out there. It's almost seamlessly for you. So that was one of the things that we had to stand on, that our reputation was like, let's see how good these Florida kids are. And we let everybody know. Like, I had dreads back then, so I had my dreads all up in the ponytail. And then people know when I'm walking on campus, like, yeah, he's from Florida. Just look how he's wearing his dreads. Like, I had even goals. Like, I would wear goals out on the field during games. Like, I had to know. And my one of our former teammates, he was a safety, so he wore his goals too. So you knew we were from Florida, and we were gonna let you know we were from Florida. And it was just, it was fun to do, because we ended up, in a sense, we gained respect because we validated who people thought we already were, and we did that all through just showing up. We didn't just think it was going to happen. Like, we had to go out and show and prove, because people were trying to test us all the time. They wanted to test our limits, and most of the time people didn't want to go past those limits. We were willing to do that because competition is always competition in Florida. No matter where you go, it could be from Tallahassee, it could be from Panama City down to Key Largo. There's competition all over in Florida. And just us knowing that, we know that's not the same in Hackensack, New Jersey, as compared to Baltimore, Maryland. Like, there's a different type of mindset coming from Florida to these other states coming in, where they don't know what you're about until they actually see it for themselves.
Oh man, dude, you got me pumped up, bro. Let's go. It's the different animals down here, but you hit on something, man, that I think kids need to listen to, right? You had the golds, you had the dreads, but you had the work. Like, you put in the work to be able to put on those golds and those dreads the way you did, like, to swag out the way you did. Like, you don't deserve that. You earn that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you
Oh, yeah.
earn to be able to walk with that swag, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I think sometimes people get it twisted. Like, when they talk about Miami, they talk about the swag, and it's like, yo, you guys have so much swag. But no, 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 no. We worked our butt off to have that swag. Like, the
Exactly.
swag was just something that oozes out of you because you put in the work to be able to put that swag on the field, right? Like, we walk different and we talk different because we can, and we earned it. Like,
Exactly.
I think
That's all.
kids nowadays maybe think that, oh, if I put on golds and dreads, I'm gonna be good.
Man, I got that now. I got guys that are on my team now that are like that, and you can just smell it, man. It's I don't like it, but in a way, I humble most of those kids quickly when I see them. And just example, we had a kid like that last season. He came in, goals, chains, tatted up. Like, I'm like, hold on, I'm tatted, but I'm in my 30s. Like, I made money first before I got tatted. Like, you're 20 years old and you're tatted from the neck down. Like, there's a different level to this here.
Yeah.
And he's talking smack, and I just knew. I'm like, this kid, he fronting. And sure enough, first game, he's played linebacker, so he's dodging contact. He's not
Ah.
going to hit people. But our players are seeing that, and they're like, hold up. This ain't the same guy that was talking all that smack in practice. It ain't the same guy that, wearing all those goals, got those tats. He's not bringing it. and they lose respect for you fast because you're
Wait.
not doing those things. So we know that. And before I put goals in, before I got the dreads, like I had to make sure I got on the field first. That was my biggest goal. If you, it's funny if you look at my profile pictures in Maryland, like you can just see the progression. Like I had a fro. My freshman year, I got this fro. My sophomore year, I got braids. Like redshirt freshman year, sorry, I have braids. Um, my sophomore season, I'm getting small dreads. My junior year, a little bit longer than my senior year. It's like, okay, yeah, he earned those dreads. Like whatever he had to do, like you can
That's a
tell.
dude right there.
Yeah,
That's a dude.
yeah. And the same thing. Like I didn't wear my goals until my junior year when I knew I was that guy. I said, all right, it's time I can bust these things out.
Yep.
And the thing was, if you wore goals, you didn't wear a mouthpiece. So I didn't wear a mouthpiece with mine.
Oh,
I had to show you, like, look,
you ain't gonna
I'm
hit
better.
me.
Yeah, you're not hitting me. I'm hitting you, and these goals are staying in my mouth. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things that I knew I had to earn. Most of these kids nowadays, they're trying to be thugs on the field, and you can't do that. Like you can't
No.
pretend to be a thug and be a football player. Deion Sanders has said that many times, but
Yep.
it's the truth. Like there's many guys that try and do both, and you can't put the rap game in with football. You got to really earn what you're doing. You can't side skirt your way to success. You everything you get on the field, and one of the guys that said the most, probably to date, probably the most important things ever that stuck with me. Jason Witten said it when I was in Dallas. He said the secret's in the dirt. He said everything that you do every single day, the dirt knows exactly how much work you put in, and it will give you everything that you deserve if you put everything into it. And sometimes it is unforgiving. Just the nature of it. You got to understand that not everything you get is going to be given to you. Not everything is going to be 100%. Yeah, you could work for it, but if you come up short, you really got to see what you needed to do to change to be successful. And it all comes from the work that you put in. So when he said that, I mean, it holds true in business as well too. And it just stuck with me because everything that you do every single day, how consistent you are, how disciplined you are, how hard you work, how hard you motivate other people around you to be successful, because it's not just about you, it's a team aspect in life as well. How can you get those people to see the potential and not waste it, to understand to capitalize on it, to become better so that they can go and get somebody better, so they can go and motivate somebody, have their own team to where they build it. And when he said it was 2017, when he said it feels like yesterday he said it. And I
Wow.
just continue to bring that message to the guys just to let them know that ain't nothing out here free, man. Don't think you've arrived. Don't try and act like it. Don't just be you, and let yourself and your play and the things that you do every single day allow you to earn your stripes. And then when it comes time to be who you need to be, nobody's gonna question it because they know you've worked for it.
Yep. Yep. That's like for example, you brought up a name, Deion Sanders. Like nobody questions the way
Nope,
he speaks.
at all, at all.
Like, yo, Google it, bro. The
Yeah,
stats are there, bro. It's
everything.
it's on paper, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why does
always.
he talk the way he does now? Because he won every game when he was coaching too. Like, you
Yep.
can't you can't knock the hustle, brother. He can say what he wants.
I mean, you said it. The proof shows up. Like there's no denying it. You can't discredit anything that he's done because he told you he was going to do it before he did it. And he backed
Ah,
it up. Like that's the thing. He backed it up. Everything he said. Some people they wait and then they let the actions speak for themselves. Then they talk after. He spoke during, knowing he was going to do it at that time, and he's still talking after, and everything is still validated. All his virtues, all his mental mindset, is all the things that when he was playing from a young age. He talks about it when he was 7 years old. His mindset was to get his mom a house, like go to the league to get his mom a house. And his mindset was, I'm going to do everything necessary that I need to do to provide for her. And he went out and did it. So the proof is in the pudding, and he's got many years of his validation. So I'll never discredit anything. If he tells me, if he gives me a secret, look, I'm not going to discredit it. I'm not going to doubt it because I'm looking at your career. I'm looking at your life after football. And I'm seeing the amazing things that you're doing and what you're building. He is the brand. Like nobody's going to Colorado to watch the Buffaloes play. Like they're going to see Dion
yep.
and Colorado Buffaloes. Like it's that way. It's not the Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders. So he's really built his brand through years and years of just his work ethic and the validation behind of what he said with his work ethic as well.
Yeah. Nolan, how do Yeah, I'm sure you saw some horror stories in the NFL, right? Like, I'm sure you saw guys that I heard you talk a little bit about it, like guys that wouldn't let go, had to keep playing because they didn't know what they were going to do after their career. There's been guys that have been very successful after their careers. There's been a mix of everything, right? But like, I think that kids think that there's an end. Like, there's like, for example, like Dion, right? Thinking about, all right, I'm going to buy my mom a house. But then when he buys his mom a house, like, oh, that's it, it's over. Like, no, no, no. Like, there's always another step. There's always another step. So, like, people look at it with the end result being like, I want to get drafted. All right, you get drafted. So what? Now you're going to just spend all your money? Wait,
Yeah.
you're not going to go practice every day? You're not going to hustle like a professional hustles in the off season that they can't walk after their workouts because they're so dead? Like that comes into play too. Like, how do you like ingrain that into kids nowadays? Because to again, like you hit on it earlier, like seeing that they only see the result, they only want the result, but then it's and then you might get the result, but then you have to always up the ante. Like, how do you teach that? How do you even get that into somebody's head? Because I feel like I didn't know it till I got into it. Maybe you knew it beforehand. Like, how do you do it?
Well, what we do at JA, and I was talking to one of the coaches, and I was talking to one of our chiropractors inside of the facility as well. And one of the things that we do is we ask these kids what their goals are, and we tell them, don't be scared, like don't be modest about it, like tell us exactly what you want to do. And a lot of these kids, they say they want to get a college scholarship, a Division I college scholarship. A lot of these other kids say, look, I just want to be the first in my family to go to college. So other kids say they want to get drafted. Well, those are very lofty goals. Those are things that are high up that their family members, friends might not think is possible or look at them weird and crazy. But what we like is we give you an aiming point, a high aiming point, and then we have small goals in between those. So we show these kids how to break down those goals to understand, look, if you want a college scholarship, what does that look like? So you're getting paid to go to school basically through financial aid. Take some of your financial aid, put that aside, save it. If you get a college scholarship or partial scholarship, whatever it might look like, you have money saved away for a rainy day that you can use to enroll in school if you decide to walk on after you leave these 2 years here. We're showing you how to save money. At the same time, we're showing you, well, if you want to go to, let's just say you want to go to University of Florida. Well, Florida's a big school. Like there's a lot of competition there. What does that look like? What position do you want to play? And I'll just use corner, for example, because I'm a corner. Well, who are the top corners on that team right now? Are they sophomores? Are they juniors? Are they seniors? Are the guys about to get drafted? Who are the guys behind them? Who are the five-star guys that they're signing? Start studying them. What are they doing well? What are the things that coaches like about those kids? Once you see what they start liking about those kids, start putting that into your game so that when people turn on your highlight tape, which is your resume, they see the same things as from those five-star kids that they recruited. And once they start seeing that picture of it, and you start breaking down those goals for them, they start understanding this is what coach wants for me, but this is what I need to do for myself. So what does that look like? You have to work on your technique. You have to start watching film. You have to take care of your body. You have to stretch. These are things you got to implement into your daily life, your daily routine. You got to hydrate. You got to see Dr. Marianne, our chiropractor. You got to get massages. You got to be in the weight room. You got to work on your technique with me or with Coach Harris, our DB coach, and keep refining yourself. And when we continually break it down for them time and time again, they start forming the steps to get to the top, as opposed to just seeing this big old mountain and like, I can't take that first step because I don't know which way it's going to take me and which way, because I have no guide, I have no compass. So we kind of form this compass through their goals and allow them to understand these are the things that you need to do to get to the top. And the more they start understanding their steps and the more they start understanding their own capabilities, then they start to gain that confidence. And when they gain that confidence, they start to know that I can do this. Every step they take is a believable step towards that goal. And then sure enough, you start looking at it like, oh, it's right there for me. Like I can really do this. And you look how far you've come and it's like, shoot, this is great. Like I didn't believe that I could do this back then. And look at what I'm doing now. And it's just great to see because when the kids really do buy in, it starts showing. And I just give an example today because we have practice. The kids, we just did speed training. I told them, look, I don't want to do position work today. I want to kind of give you guys some time off, like not time off, but rest your legs because we got heavy stuff coming on later on in the week. those guys were like, Coach, we're trying to get better. So those guys started doing one-on-ones. They're doing drills on their own. I just sat back and I just watched. It was one of those things where I didn't have to tell you to do it. You guys already know what's required. So if you know what's required, when you go somewhere else, guess what? You're going to do it on your own. You're going to be that self-motivated because you understand the things that you need to do to get to the top now. And that's just how we break it down. That is a simple part of how we break it down for them and get them to start believing that they can do those things. But it also translates to life as well, because when they stop playing football, which they will, they understand that those same qualities that they use to get to wherever they got, they can use those outside the field as well.
It's the process, man.
Definitely is. Got to trust
Oh,
it.
it's so I hate the cliche. Like people say, "Oh, it's a cliche," but like it's that simple, man.
It
Like,
is.
you have to fall in love with that.
It is. You have to. And I don't think it's cliche because you hear it so many times when you're playing. It's just, coach is right. This is summer camp or it's spring training. Yeah, this is the start of it. Like, you got to really trust the process. You got to trust that all the stuff that you did in the off season to hit correctly, whether hitting, being in outfield, you got to understand what your technique is. You got to understand how to catch the ball. Now, I've caught it naturally, but I don't know how you guys do it. But you got to understand there's a certain place you got to be able to. If you're playing center field, obviously, you got to be able to move left and right and be the commander back there. You got to be the captain to understand. That comes with you understanding your technique. Who's hitting what batter's up? Where does he like to hit it? What's his batting average? If you got two new guys that are on the outside, you need to communicate with them and let them know, hey, from this distance to this distance, I got this covered. Everything else, I want y'all outside. Don't mess with me. And just progressing. You start understanding that, and then when you get into spring training, you're just refining that again. And then when you're getting into games, you're just refining that again, because you know day in and day out of what you've done, it's to an end goal. It's to get to the playoffs. It's to win a championship. And you have to trust your training and what you've done. And one of my coaches, special teams coach, Dave Phipp in Philly, it was a rhetorical question, but it was one that required, it wasn't even an answer, it was like a statement. He said, when the pressure is greatest, do you rise to your level? Do you rise to the level of the occasion, or do you sink to your level of training? And you sink to your level of training. Because if you rise to the occasion, your emotions and everything, you can't control that. But if you sink to your training, it's stuff that you've done every single day in those pressure situations that get you prepared for that, so that you can just function when it's cool. People are like, he's got ice in his veins. He's got ice in his veins because he's trusted that process that he did when there was no cameras, when there was no fans, when there was no people around. It was just him, understanding that that moment is going to come. And when it does come, the things that I'm doing in this heat, the things that I'm doing when nobody's watching, people are going to start seeing the end result. And when it happens, it's going to look like, oh man, he's super athletic, but I did it 1,000 times to make sure I got it right for that one moment. And that's what really matters, is trusting that process.
Oh man, it's so true, man. It's so true because it again the and even in those hard times, man, like I remember not being prepared for those tough times, like those first, like when you're young and you're like nervous and you don't know, and even the first time you're under the lights, I remember in college too. I've never been more nervous than the first time I stepped on that field in college, and I didn't feel like I belonged at all, bro. I was
Oh
like,
man,
"Oh, shoot, bro. This is"
I
do you remember that first time? Like, when was that first time for you, if any?
man, the first time where I felt like I'm not prepared had to have been, and I was prepared, but I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, that's the
prepared.
thing. It's more mental.
Yeah,
It's more mental.
yeah, it was 2011, and we were playing on Monday night, and we are playing the Patriots, and it was Tom Brady. It just Tom Brady during that, from whatever time he started, from whenever he finished, there were years in there where he was unbeatable, and I just got lucky enough to be thrown into the fire, not having a lot of reps. This is my second year in the league, so I didn't play that much my rookie season. I played the last 5 games, but
Uh-huh.
that is no experience for a guy that you're playing the first week of the first game on Monday night, when he's thrown for, by this time, he's already got 300 yards passing already. And now he sees this rookie come into the game. Well, I say rookie, like young guy. And I just remember it vividly. I'm like, just lock in. I forgot my coverages. I forgot everything because I had never really been in that moment before. Like I've been in college games where it's 70, 80, 100,000 fans. It's different when
Yeah.
you've grown up watching a guy that is dominated, and then now all of a sudden he's staring at you. You're not staring at him. He's staring at you, and he's trying to figure out how I'm gonna kill this kid. Like, how am I going to embarrass this kid because he wants to win that bad? It's not necessarily about me and him hating me. It's because he's trained himself to win. And I didn't understand that at the time. I'm trying to hold on. But as I got older, I started understanding that myself. So in practice, when we got third down day, I know right away third down is crucial for us as corners. So I got to make sure I prepare and I study and I know to anticipate because you don't really go outside your third down calls of what you already know. So if you can anticipate as a corner on third downs, you can make a lot of plays. So you got to make sure you put yourself in the right situations. The same with 2 minute when the game's on the line, when the team needs let's say a field goal, because most of the time that's what it comes down to. They need a field goal. They need to get a field goal position. What are the plays that they're going to run to beat you? So coaches normally they put you in hardest coverages because more than likely those are going to be the same coverages you're going to have in the game. So you can't say, man, why is he calling this coverage? Because if you have that mentality, guess what? You're going to get beat. You're probably going to be the one to give up the game. And I have given up a game before. It's just what it is. It's how that's the life of a corner. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, I knew still I put myself in the right position to make plays or put myself in the right position to be uncomfortable so that come Sundays, when I became uncomfortable, those uncomfortable situations arose, I would sink into my level of training where I just tuned everything out, understand the call, and understand the situation, understand how to communicate to my teammates on what's coming, prepare for shift changes, prepare for change of strength. If wherever Des lines up, he's probably getting the ball. Wherever Odell lines up, that's where he's probably getting the
That's
ball. You just gotta understand, where is he? He's at number 3. Is he at number 2? Is he on my side? Is he playing the X? Is he playing the Z? Is he in the backfield, which most receivers are now? Where is he on the field? And you put yourself in those situations time and time again to understand that if I make myself uncomfortable right now, I won't be uncomfortable when those games come because there's too much emotion. And like I was referring to, there was too much of the emotion that Monday night where I'm this young kid, I'm out there, I don't even know how he sounds. Like I'm just now hearing him for the first time, and it's bang, here we go. And that was one of those things. That was one of the moments where I was like, okay, I'm glad I went through this because it's going to help me later on down the road. And when I saw him again later on, my fourth year in the league, it was just like, all right, it's Tom Brady. Like I understand it's Tom Brady, so let's just rumble because I know who you are. I know you're going to get yours. I'll get mine. At the end of the day, I just want to compete. I'm not that young cat that I was anymore. I'm a little bit more seasoned. And as you get older, you start seeing those guys like Tony Romo, Drew Brees, Philip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, and it's just like, all right, I put myself in the right situations to be prepared for these moments. I'm ready for this challenge. Like I embrace those
yeah.
challenges. That's what you train yourself for. Because at the end of the day, you want to see the things that you have put in the work in tirelessly day in and day out. How does that measure against the guys that you hear that are just amazing? You know, how do you stop those guys? And if you can stop, and if you can't, what do you need to do to make yourself better? That's what you're really waiting for, is to see if you can amass that challenge, if you can take that on and be successful. And if you are, you're just going to look for the next one. You want the next person to compete against because that is the next level. That's the next standard. And I love it. I really do. And with my guys, I do the same thing. We put them in the same situation, and I put my coaches in the same situation. I just want to see how you react. I want to see if do you get mad at your teammate? Do you hype them up? Are you yelling and screaming? Are you calm and cool and collected? What are you? I want to see those things because if I can see it during practice, I know what to expect during the game, and I know how you'll act and react. But at the same time, I can teach you how to be better, how to be charisma, how to be calm, cool, and collected in those situations.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of, again, we go to like that that mental strength, right? In those tough times, in
Mhm.
those crazy times, like, and it is so cool because I love that, like falling back on what your coach said is like falling back on what you've prepared yourself for, right? Is that, that's kind of, you say You said it right.
Yeah, you sink to your level of training. He was a military guy,
There you go.
and
Sync to your level of training.
so he was big on, and a lot of we had a lot of guest speakers that came in Philly, and a lot of them said that they
Oh,
sunk to the level of training when
I love that.
war stories and they got to save their friend that's in a bunker and bombs are going off. The first thing they say is, I was trained for this. What do I need to do? Like, where's my survival? Where's my pack? Where's my gun? Where's my ammo? Where are those? Where are my things that I've trained myself with? And then they
Mhm.
go out and execute what they need to. And you see those movies, the sound is just blank. It's mute. They're trying to concentrate on what's going on. They concentrate and they just go. And they don't think about anything else out there. That's the same thing that he was referring to is you're not worried about the crowd. You're not worried about who the all pro receiver is. You're not worried about the quarterback. You know your coverage and you just need to execute. You're not worried about who's lining up in
Ex-
front of you. It's just about you competing. That's all.
Hey, who was the guy? Who was the guy that you had his number? And like, who was the guy that you were like, this is the guy that I got him. I got him. Was there like a an eye that he gave you or something like that? There was something that you will pick up on that you didn't tell nobody or that you knew better than everybody else or something? Because I feel like there's pictures like that. Like that. There was guys that I had that I knew something. I had a little tip, a little something that I knew I was gonna get him. Was there a quarterback that you were like, he has no idea, but I got this is why I'm so good against them?
Yeah, it was a couple of them I was like that with. It was Ben Roethlisberger I was like that with. I don't know why or how I was like that with him. It is. Cam Newton I was like that with. I had my battles with Drew Brees going back and forth. I don't know. I just had a beat on certain guys. Eli Manning I had to a T. Like Eli and Odell were the two guys, and I'm not saying, I was out here dominating. I did my thing against them, but more importantly, it goes back to the confidence thing. I saw something in film my first year in Philly, and we were playing against the Giants the last week of the season, and I saw something that just caught my eye when we were watching film, and I saw Eli when he wants to throw to his right, his left leg is back, and his left leg is back so he can just plant with his right leg and just throw it to the right. And he didn't do it on any other throw. I just saw it this particular throw, and just something told me you can get this guy. And then when we played him, I lined up against Odell, and this is Odell's rookie year when he was just balling out of control. And
Yeah.
everybody's saying, well, this guy, he takes everything to the house. This guy is dangerous. So I wanted to see for myself. So I remember pressing the first time, and he got me off the line. I didn't realize he was that explosive off the line. So he gets me off the line. He gets about 5 yards of separation. Like he's beating me, but I catch up to him, and I'm fast too. So when I catch up to him and I'm able to turn my head and see where the ball is and hit it, and Malcolm Jenkins, he hits him too. I remember saying to myself, all I got to do is just protect the slant. He's not going to beat me on the fade anymore. Like, he's just not going to. You had your best
Yeah.
shot, and he went deep twice. He didn't get him. But that right in itself, I said, look, I'll cover the slant. He has to beat me with slants. He's not beating me with fades, deep balls. And sure enough, and this was another funny thing, after that play when Malcolm hit him, I guess he thought I hit him. So the play after was a run play. He hits me in my back. Like, he waylaid, I'm talking about rocks in my back. And I'm pissed off. I'm when I get pissed off on the football field, like, I see red. You can't calm me down. You can't do anything. I remember walking over to the huddle. I'm getting ready to cross the line. I'm ready to fight the entire team because of him.
Yeah.
And D linemen, they're like, yo, don't even get involved. But I remember when he did that, I said, look, from now on, I'm gonna make it hard for you. If we play and you playing against me, I'm making it as difficult as possible. I'm gonna let you know that whatever you get, it ain't gonna be easy. You can get everything on the other side all you want to, but when you come on my side, when you're playing against me, I'm not scared of you. It was just those things that went hand in hand. That, yeah, honestly, he's still a great player. You see it even now, just how he is as a guy, how he's formed the entire league as far as receivers and understanding their value and how they are now and how they can all just be athletes. But he was definitely the one. Him and Eli were the guys that I knew if I had a bad game the week before and I was playing the Giants the next week, I was going to have to fit. I just knew. Like, it's just, I don't think it's because it was division rivals. I just think it was because I had that confidence knowing that this is the guy. This is one of the top guys in the league. I'm going to give my best shot. Now I give him my best shot every week, but it's just different when you know you're covering him, like, or you're covering Dez, or you're
Yeah.
covering Deshaun, or you're covering Julio. It's just it brings it out of you because these are the guys that you see on TV that are just dominating week in and week out. That fantasy experts, all these people are talking about. You just want to see it for yourself. So it's one thing to see it and see somebody versus him. It's different when it's me versus him, and that's the fun part that I miss the most is that competition of understanding during the week what type of preparation you had to be able to play those guys and see if you were successful against them.
It's like that chess match.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's a fun
Yeah.
chess too. It's
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, that's what I miss too. Hey, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and I didn't realize it, but obviously your dad being from Miami, like how was it when you actually got down there and got to? Was he super stoked about that too? And how did you feel about coming back to Florida, like
Yeah,
and going to Miami?
it was surreal, man, because I wanted to go to Miami so bad. Like I wanted to go, man. I fell in love not with the championship team. I fell in love with the team that had Najee Davenport, Kenny Kelly, Santana Moss, Bubba Franks,
Oh,
Reggie Wayne. Like I fell in love with that team. And then they got better. Obviously, you had Andre Johnson, Sean Taylor, Willis McGahee. You had all the greatest that ever that were probably in college football. And I wanted to be there. Like I had that swagger. Like I felt like I had it to be at the U. And ultimately, it didn't work out. And I was disappointed because I put my effort into it. But ultimately, I ended up getting drafted by the team that was my dad's childhood team. And it's funny, he'd always talk about him going to the Orange Bowl, and his uncle was a security guard at the time, so he'd let him and his brothers in, and they watched the Super Bowl with Joe Namath, and I think they were playing the Colts. He was there at that. He went to a couple of games as well. So to hear him talk about it as I was getting older, and then finally get drafted to his childhood team, he was ecstatic. Like he was, and I remember it too. It was him and I at the house, and at the time, teams were calling left and right, and they're telling me, hey, we're getting ready to pick you, so be ready. I'm like, okay. It wouldn't happen. They pick somebody else, and it was getting to the point. This happened. This happened the second round. This happened the third round. This happened the fourth round. So I'm like antsy at this point because I got teams calling me every pick, talking about, yeah, we're gonna pick you in two more picks. We hope you're ready. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm just waiting. So I remember so anxious. I remember I'm getting ready to take a nap and just like I'm over this. I'm probably not going to get drafted based off of me and my injury. I'm not going to get drafted. But then the phone rings and it's a 954 number. And
oh,
my dad sees it and he starts getting excited. So he grabs the phone. He's saying hello and everything. And I don't know whose voice was on the line at the time, but he gives me the phone. And I just remember him kind of like looking all wide eyed like a child, like, is this is it? This is the one. And it was gosh, Bill Parcells who was on the phone first. And Bill Parcells like, hey Nolan, you ready to be a Dolphin? I'm like, yes, sir. And then once there, my dad was like, he started shaking me and hugging me and everything. So it was fun for him to experience that. For me, it was just stress reliever because I knew where I was going. But for him to have his son play for his childhood team, I honored that big time. That was big for me. And, when I had a bad game, his family members would talk smack, obviously. They would try and critique and whatever. And he took the good with the bad. When I made great plays, he was there to celebrate it because it's almost like it was him doing it as well. And for me, I took a lot of pride in that. And I love playing with the Dolphins. Like I wanted to stay. Obviously, it's a business, as you know, and I couldn't. But, I did what I needed to do when I was there. And I represented my pops more than anything because it meant that much to him. And I knew he had bragging rights, and he'll forever have bragging rights that his son played for his childhood team, and he played well. He didn't just play; he played well.
yeah, yeah. It's funny you brought that up about when you did bad, because man, I felt that when I was in college too. Because I lived at home. I was 15 minutes from school.
Oh,
Like that's so when I'm sure in college sometimes you have a bad game and you could just get away.
oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but when you're at home and your family's around, like they're
yeah.
gonna let you know.
Yeah, it was difficult, man. It was more difficult for my family because at the time my mom had just got into office as well. So anything I did, it was associated with her. And if I played well, great. If I played bad, I was critiqued. And obviously, family members would tell my dad what I needed to be doing. And my dad would just look at him like, are you serious? Like, if you knew, then you would be playing correct, but you're not. So it just had, I learned how to tune a lot of that out, but they always wanted to keep up with me and see what I was doing. Obviously, living in Jacksonville, they came to all the home games, but away games they didn't go to. But they would hear it if I didn't play well, like from family members, which I told them don't even worry about that stuff. But
Yeah.
he, looking back at it now, my dad, and we talk a lot about it. He's glad that I was able to do what I needed to do and persevere and make plays and prove to people that I could play at the end of the day. And I think you're mainly talking about family members more so than reporters and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, those people don't matter. It's more about what you can tell your family members at a family barbecue or a family reunion that, look, my son played, and we actually have a good lineage of guys in our family that played in the NFL. Samari Roll is my cousin as well. Samari Roll played. He went to Florida State, then he got drafted by the Titans. He was a Pro Bowler of the Titans. I think he played 12, 13 years, something like that. So I knew I had big shoes to fill. Nolan Carroll was another one. He played for Green Bay Packers. So we have guys that played corner, and then we have another one, B.J. Johnson. He played for the Giants. He went to UCF. So we got guys, and he won a Super Bowl with I think in '07 or something like that. He won a Super Bowl. So we have a good lineage of corners in our family that played in the league. So I understand why we got the critique, so to speak, but it's only because the standard was so high and it was set by those guys, and I was just the next one in line to take those steps with them.
Oh man, is your son next or what?
He will. I tried to keep him out of it, but the one thing I learned about my son is he's determined. Like I know he's determined, and he can play football. He's an athlete when it comes to football. And it's not he just wants to play football. He watches highlights of older guys, and I'm not talking about me. He watches Troy Polamalu. He watches Ed Reed. He watches Tyrann Mathieu. Like, he watches safeties and corners. He wants to be a corner, but he can play offense. Like, he's a good receiver. He's fast. He's big for his size. He's 9, and he's 5 foot already, and he's 9 years old. So he's a big kid. And the way he just moves, like, he's not even thinking when he's out there. He's just playing. And I was never like that. And for me to see that now, obviously he's been around football since he was super young. So I think that helps him with it as well. But I'm letting him play. I was back and forth on it for many years, but I'm going to let him play tackle. I think
Nice.
when he gets about 11 or 12, and I just know once he plays, I ain't stopping him. He's just that good. And another thing, I never taught him any football, anything. I didn't start until last year, and he's just going off of video. Like, he's
Wow.
not. It's not like I've been training him for the last 8 years of his life, really last 2. So for him to go out and know the game and have the intelligence the way he does, it's very impressive to see at such a young age. And I just know he's going to be better than me, and I love that, because then I get to talk smack too.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. It's just I want to be able to show him how to do it the right way. But he's playing football. There's no doubt in my mind he's playing.
Oh man, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Listen, Nolan, I mean, we could literally. I didn't look at anything that I wrote down, bro. I wrote down all these notes, but I tried, but I was so intrigued by your story, man. And when Nick asked me to talk to you, I was just so stoked, man. It was so cool. We could literally sit here for 3 hours, but I
Sure.
mean, this is awesome, man. I gotta thank you so much, man. This
No
is
problem.
so cool, bro.
No problem. Nick's a good guy, man. Nick's known me he knew me in my young days, my when I was just starting out. So Nick's been with me in my entire career, and I thank him, because, man, there's times where I don't feel like doing nothing, and he makes me do it anyway. And him being able to do that for me helped my career in a way to be able to push myself. And I don't think Nick gets enough credit for what he's been doing over the years. He's had a lot of guys in the league that have been Pro Bowlers, All Pros, draft picks. Like he's had those guys, and he doesn't get enough credit for the amount of work that he actually does and the knowledge that he knows behind his craft. He really enjoys training athletes, and him being a former athlete himself, you know his backstory. He had all these injuries and still
Yep.
kept persevering, and he's just giving back to what he's experienced, and you're seeing it now. I mean, even with Manny, you could just talk to Nick, and Nick would talk to you like Manny's just a regular guy, because that's how he sees guys. He never sees them as superstars. He's always seeing them as, how can I make you better?
Yep.
And when you have a trainer that is like that, not just a trainer, when you have a friend that's like that, it makes you want to go harder, because every day when you get in there, he expects a certain level of excellence. And it's just great that you've been able to talk to him and experience what he's doing, because what he's doing is very great.
Man, Nolan, he cares.
Yes, he does. Definitely does.
He cares. He genuinely cares.
Yeah.
Like it's really tough to find people that care so much, man. Like and he has a passion for what he does.
Yeah.
That's just, you can't put it into words.
At all.
And you really cannot put it into words of how much he actually loves the craft.
Yeah.
Like, and he really wants, like, he was in tears. Like, we were talking about one of my buddies, Romy Gonzalez. I'm not sure if you met him, but he late round pick, didn't think he was gonna make it to the big leagues. All of a sudden started training with Nick and made it to the big leagues, man. Like totally, like something that was unbelievable. And just the fact of hearing him tell the story about how Nick helped him so much, like just left him in tears, bro. Like, and I'm like, dude, it's because of how much he really has that passion and that love for the people that he's working with, more than just like the $300 million contracts,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Exactly.
that's crazy. That's great. But like, he's still worried about hopefully Manny like does well too. Like, it's like, bro, Manny's fine. Like, no. But like, no, like he
Exactly. No,
cares
you're right.
so much about the human.
Exactly. You're right about it. He's always, and I kind of joke, like the times I was working out, he never, I think maybe one day, the first day I met him, I paid. And since then, I never paid that when I was there. I always came and trained. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to pay you. He's like, no, don't worry about it. He was like, are you
Wow.
sure? He's like, yeah. Like he just, like you said, he genuinely cares. Like he invites me over to his house. I know his parents. I know his brother. Like, I mean, I know his family, man. And you're right about that. He does care. And when he does care, he's going to continually push you all the time. And you might not like it, but you're going to get better. At the end of the day, you will get better.
Oh man, dude. Hey man, thanks so much, man. We got to do this again, man. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I know you've done a lot, obviously, but I hope to one day be as good as you at doing this, man.
No, you will. How many have you done so far?
We're getting into the 40s now.
Oh, you're up
So
there. Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep doing it. Honestly, when it comes to podcasts, people think they're going to have that one that just gets them over the edge, and it's just about consistency. And one of the guys I was talking to, he was on my podcast in the first season at MPH Club. He owns a rental car company that's down there in Miami, and he was saying this. We were talking before COVID. I was at his office, and we were just talking, conversing, and he was like, "Look, at the end of the day, people are going to look back, and when you're doing a podcast, when you're doing a show, when they're looking at your business, they're going to look at the beginning. They're going to see, you know, if you catch traffic on episode 158, well, they're going to go back and see episode 1, and you see episode 2, they're going to see episode 3, and they're going to see how you started. And you'll never would have imagined back then how you started is how you end up in your podcast or even in your business." And he was just saying that. He's like, look, at the end of the day, and he was talking to me about my podcast, when you get ready to start this thing, just make sure that you're consistent with it. And I mean, that's what I've really been doing. And you're doing the same thing. If you just continue to be consistent with it, you continue to, because like you said, you never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. It could be that one person. And just give you another story. I know we're talking a little bit longer, but Tyler,
go
the
ahead,
creator,
bro. I got all the time.
Yeah, Tyler, the creator, was saying that he found an artist, I think it was SoundCloud, that might have had 6 listens or 6 views, and he ended up signing the guy because he liked his music. So, and now I think the guy's on his group or whatever, I don't know. But I remember hearing that video, and it's just like, you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening, you never know who you're influencing to help them, or even influence them to take a chance on you. to make you successful. So just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's everybody needs a podcast, but it's doing it the right way, doing it for a message. You're trying to inspire other people through guests, and you're not just doing it just to be fully yourself, which is one of the things that I've noticed on this podcast. You're really trying to absorb information. You're really trying to get other people to understand the other side of being an athlete, and the mental part of it is what is really important aside from the game. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that, man. Those are really kind words. I don't know how to take kind words, honestly. I get a little nervous with that, but thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
really appreciate that. It means the world to me, man. But this was absolutely a blast. And man, I wish you all the continued success, man. Keep doing your thing and keep changing lives, man. You're already doing it. So keep
Appreciate it.
changing the world one kid at a time, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be on with you. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. All love.
All right. See you.
Peace.
Peace.